till now we have seen two ways by which we can create SharePoint screens. One is the default screens which are created by SharePoint on the top of the list, and second, in the previous video we saw how we can use ASP.NET to create custom screens on the top of SharePoint list. Now customizing screens using ASP.NET needs a lot of development knowledge. In other words, you have to understand ASP.NET, you have to understand SharePoint object model, you have to know how to use Visual Studio, C# and a lot of things. Okay, but let's say that you are a simple end user like accountant or must be a CIO of a company who has not done programming, and let's say that you want to go and create your own screens and host it in SharePoint. You would like to put your own validations, you would like to give your own look and feel. So how do you go about doing that? So for these kind of end users who would like to take control, create screens of their own, have their own look and feel, have their own validations defined for the screen, there is a nice tool given by Microsoft called as the INFOPATH tool. INFOPATH tool actually helps us to create screens, data entry screens or display screens which are in XML format. Okay, so the internal format of these screens are actually XML. You can then take those XML file and upload it on SharePoint, and what SharePoint will do is he will read those XML files, parse it and display your complete screen inside the browser on the SharePoint environment. So in this video what we'll do is we'll try to create a simple screen by using the INFOPATH tool, and we'll try to host that screen on the SharePoint environment. So what we'll do is we'll take the same state master list here, okay, which we talked in our previous video, for which we created the custom ASP.NET screen, and on this state master list we'll go and create a custom screen using the INFOPATH tool. So the first step is we need to go and open the Microsoft INFOPATH tool. So click on Start Programs, go to All Programs, go to Microsoft Office, and you can see here there are two icons. One is the Microsoft INFOPATH Designer and the other one is the Microsoft INFOPATH Filler. We'll talk about this Microsoft INFOPATH Filler later on. First, let's go ahead, use this designer and create our screen which has state code and state description. Okay, so let me just click on this Microsoft INFOPATH Designer tool. Let me open it. Now the first thing you will notice when you open the Microsoft INFOPATH tool is that it's a general software for creating screens. In other words, it's not only for SharePoint, but it's for other sources like probably databases, for web services, probably for Microsoft Outlook, etc. So in other words, it's a general software to create screens, and the format by which those screens are stored internally is XML. Okay, so once you create those screens, then you can take those screens and attach it to a SharePoint list. You can attach it to SQL Server, you can attach to web services, you can attach to must be even XML, etc. Okay, so for now our interest is we want to create a screen which will actually stand on top of the SharePoint list and will help us to do help us to add, update and delete. Okay, so I'm going to click on new here and I'm going to click on SharePoint list. So let me just select this SharePoint list template here and let me double click on this. Now the time I double click on it, it asks me that basically where is the SharePoint list located. So currently my SharePoint list is located on this site, so I'm going to go and copy this site address and I'm going to paste it over here. So I'm going to say Control V, alright, and I'm going to do next. Let me just go and fill my password here. So administrator and pass@123. So there it is communicating. Now the next thing it asks me is that do you want to go and create a new list, and on that new list do you want to create a screen, or do you want to go and create a screen on an existing SharePoint list? So currently we are going to go and create a screen on an existing SharePoint list, that is State Master. So let me just go back again here and I'm going to go and click on customize an existing SharePoint list. Okay, and our SharePoint list is State Master. We are going to do a next here and I'm going to say finish. Now before I finish, you can see that it has created a connection by which it can know that to which list it has to connect. So and the name of the connection, it has named it as main connection. Okay, so I'm going to just say okay, that's fine, whatever the name is. I'm going to say finish. So you can see that by default it has created a screen here with the necessary fields like state code and state description. And at the right hand side you can see all the fields. So if you want, you can drag other fields if you wish, like modified and created by and those things, but we would like those fields to be more internal rather than on the screen. Now if you want to go and change the look and feel, you can always select these items, and you can see at the top bar you can see there are a lot of options like making it bold, italic. You can change the font type if you wish. You can go and change the font size, the background color, forecolor, and those things. Okay. Now what we'll do is, the first thing is, I don't want these attachment fields. I just want the state code and state description. So let me just select this, right click, and let me delete this row, because I'm not interested in collecting the what you call the attachments for when I enter the state data. Second thing, I would like to put a button here which will actually go and add this whole data to my SharePoint list. So let me first go and add a row here. So, and I will put my button over here. Now you can see at the top bar, you can see there are a lot of user interface items here which we can use, like example text boxes, combo boxes, rich text box, and one of the items what we have is the button. So let me just take this button here and drag and drop. So I'm going to just click on this button. Let me just give a nice name to this button. So I'll just say, what we can do is, rather than directly adding, let's do a preview. So once the user comes to the screen and he puts in state code and state description, I would like to give him a preview saying that, I'll give him a preview first, and then once he confirms the preview, then we will say submit. So I'll just say preview, okay, and I'll say apply. Right, so that's my screen here. So the user will come here, he will put in the state code, state description, he will hit the preview button, and after the preview button, one more screen will be popped up saying that, are you sure this is the state code and state description? Click on submit to add this data to the SharePoint list, that is state master SharePoint list. So in other words, when a person hits on this preview, one more screen has to be popped up. So let's go ahead and create that screen. In order to create the screen, you can see at the top we are currently on the home bar. So let's click on the page design bar, and you can see at this moment it's saying that there is only one page called as the edit item. So let's go ahead and create a new view here, okay, and this new page, this new view we'll give it a name as preview state data, okay, right. And here I'll say please confirm, please confirm if you want to, or I'll say preview, sorry, preview of state data to be entered, okay, right. And here what I'll do is I'll go and show him the state code what he has entered, right. So that that's one thing which I will show him. Second, I will also show him state description, okay. And these fields I would like to mark it as read only. So these text boxes I will say are only read only. So I'm going to go here to display and say this is read only, so he can't change on the screen anything, because in the first screen he is allowed to change, but here this is a preview screen, so I would mark them as read only. So let me just go and save this complete thing what I've done. So let me click on save here, and I'll say this is state master data entry screen, and this thing we are going to upload later on SharePoint. So currently we are still designing the screen. So now we have two screens here. One is the preview screen and the other one is the edit screen. So you can see at the left hand side, if you want to go and see your different screens what you have in this INFOPATH currently, you can click on the drop down. So if you click on this edit item, it will actually take you to this screen, and if you click on the preview screen, it will actually take you to this screen. Now we also should be able to connect both of these screens, because we have yet not connected these screens. So if you see, right, the edit item is an individual screen and the preview item is still an individual screen. So let's do the connection part. So in the edit item, when somebody clicks on preview, we would like to move from this screen to this preview screen, right? So in order to do that, click on the button, and you can see at the top side here there is something called as add rule. Okay, I'm going to just wait for some time. So you can see that on the top bar there is something called as add rule. So we'll say if when this button is clicked, switch to this view, that is preview set data. And once when somebody clicks on this preview and he goes toward the preview screen, here I would like to add a button which will actually submit this data to the SharePoint list, right? So let me click on home here and let me drag a button from the UI objects, and let me just take this button over here, right? And over here I'm going to say button properties, and this will say submit. So when the user actually clicks on the submit, from here the data will actually flow towards the SharePoint list, and it will get saved in the SharePoint list. So in order to do that, again select the button, and we'll say here add a rule. When the button is clicked, submit data. So you can see that for the previous screen we said switch views, but for the preview screen we are going to say this data should be submitted to the list. So we're going to click on submit data, and this data should be submitted to the main data connection. If you remember, right, when we actually connected to SharePoint list, right, using the INFOPATH, right, it created a connection called as main data connection. Now this data connection actually points towards the list. So we're going to say yes, when you do the submit, it should actually go and submit the data to this data connection, and this data connection internally points towards the state master list. So I'm going to click on OK here. So now that we have done with both the screens, so in other words, we have created this edit item screen. When somebody clicks on preview, we have connected it to the preview screen, and from the preview screen he will actually submit this data to the state master list. So it's now time to publish this complete INFOPATH file on the SharePoint, and it's time to see the data and it's time to see this complete screen running inside the SharePoint site. So click on file here, and you can see that there is a publish link over here. So let's click on publish, and we're going to say that please publish this form to this SharePoint list here. So I'm going to just say SharePoint list. So verifying form template, and that's it. That it has published the form template successfully on the SharePoint server. So now let's browse to our SharePoint server. So let's go back to our SharePoint site here, and let's try to locate the form which we have created using INFOPATH. Now what we'll do is let's go and create a page. In order to take that SharePoint form, right, let's create a page here called as how I'll say, like enter state master. Okay, so in this page we'll go and add that INFOPATH form which we have created. Okay, so let me just create this page here very quickly. So that's my page created. Now in order to display the SharePoint form, right, or in order to display the INFOPATH form inside SharePoint, we need to first go and add a web part here called as forms. So you can see that browse to the web part category and select form section, and you can see that there is something called as an INFOPATH form web part. So add this. So once you add this web part form to the page, it's taking time. So there's our web part which has now been included on the page. Now we need to go and click on this, click here to open the tool pane, and this will actually go and help us to go and browse to the INFOPATH screen we have created, that is state master data entry screen, right? So I've clicked on it. So now you can see at the right hand side it is telling me go and select the list for which the web part was published. So we had published it for the state master, so I'm going to click on state master here, and I'm going to say that that's the list for which the INFOPATH form was published, and the layout and everything I'll keep it as same as it was, and I'm going to say apply. Now as soon as I do apply, you can see that the INFOPATH form which we have published is now been displayed here. So I'm going to go and save this page, and I'm going to close this one, and I'm going to save this page here. Saving. So there is my INFOPATH form which is running. So if I type here let's say Maharashtra, and if I say preview, so once I click on preview, it should actually take me to the next screen where I should be able to preview the data. So if you remember, right, we had created this preview screen. So let me just click on preview, So that's my preview screen. So it's telling me that, are you sure you want to go and add this data to the list? Yes. And let me click on submit. So sending data to the server and done. Now if I go to my state master list here, I should be able to see Maharashtra as the new data which has been added. So you can see that that's the data which is added to my state code and state description. So that was a small demonstration, where we used the Microsoft INFOPATH to create a simple state master screen, and then we ran that state master screen inside the SharePoint site, and we saw that how easy it is to publish custom screens on SharePoint. Now when I started this video, right, I talked about two icons over here. One is the Microsoft INFOPATH designer, and the other one is a Microsoft INFOPATH filler. So the designer we have seen, where the designer helps us to create screens and then publish it on SharePoint. There's one more icon here called as Microsoft INFOPATH filler. So at least in context of SharePoint, probably you won't be using this, but sometimes what happens is that you create a INFOPATH screen, right, and then you'd like to go and run the INFOPATH screen. So you don't have an environment like SharePoint. So what you can do is that you can go ahead and install this Microsoft INFOPATH filler, and you can run that screen inside this Microsoft INFOPATH filler. So you can think about that this is like a player, which actually goes and plays, or goes and runs the screen which is created in Microsoft INFOPATH designer. So at least for SharePoint, we don't need to think about this. Okay. So what's important in SharePoint is the designer, how to publish it, and then how to go and display that page on the Microsoft SharePoint site. Right, so I hope that you enjoyed this video, and in this video we saw that how we can create custom screens using the Microsoft INFOPATH designer and then publish it on SharePoint. Thank you very much, and keep visiting the SharePoint videos. Thanks a lot.